The school board of the Duval County School District is now convened in its regular monthly meeting. To everyone present and to our television viewers, I wish to extend a warm welcome to this meeting of the Duval County School Board. The vision statement of the Duval County School Board states, "Every student is inspired and prepared for success in college or a career and life." The mission statement of the Duval County School Board is to provide educational excellence in every school and every classroom for every student every day. The Duval County School Board is here tonight to listen to reports from district staff and to set policy for the district that will improve student achievement. We will also address budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and other business items that require a vote of the board. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. It is not the role of the board to make managerial or operational decisions. The board has policies and procedures in place to assist the superintendent in resolving management and operational issues. If items appear to move quickly, it is because the board meets in an agenda committee meeting prior to the board meeting for an in-depth review of all agenda items. The committee meeting for the August 6, 2019 school board meeting will be held on July 15, 2019 at 9:00 a.m. and the public is invited to attend. As a show of courtesy and respect to each other, we ask that all mobile phones be turned off and that no flash photography be used during the meeting. For those wishing to address the public during our public comments portion of the board meeting, please note that we will accept speaker cards until 6:20 p.m. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the operation of the Duval County School District. Today, the opening message of the day it will be provided by Ann Murphy, who is a student from Loretto Elementary. I ask you to stand and remain standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance.
No, we're going to say your thought.
My name is Ann Murphy. I'm 10 years old, and I am going into 5th grade at Loretto Elementary School. When I was born into a good family who lived in a nice neighborhood with really good neighbors. One of our neighbors was very nice, though. Every year for my birthday, she would take me anywhere I wanted to. She was like my second mom. But when I was about 5 years old, she moved away. I was very sad. Then my mom asked me, "Where do you want to go for your birthday date?" This weekend, I was able to go on our birthday date. It is a very good feeling when an adult other than a family member takes time off their schedule to spend time with you. So my thought of the day is take time off to spend with a child. Thank you.
Would you go ahead and lead us in the pledge as well while you're there?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Today, we will hear from Principal Kemp with Loretto Elementary, and Ann Murphy, who led us in our opening thought for the day, is a student at Loretto Elementary.
Good evening. I'm Christy Kemp, the principal at Loretto Elementary.
And I'm Rebecca Durkin. I'm one of the assistant principals at Loretto.
And we also have in our audience Lindsay DeWalt, a new assistant principal to Loretto Elementary in the audience. So let me share with you just a few things about Loretto Elementary. We are a technology magnet, and we're very fortunate to have an actual computer teacher. Just like our children go to art, music, and PE, they also receive instruction by a computer teacher on that rotation resource schedule. So every child has an opportunity to spend time practicing their typing skills, and our lab opens at 8 o'clock in the morning, and before class they can come in and they can take any assessments if they would like, or just spend some time practicing or going to their favorite sites. So our kindergartners, even though they're 5, they do begin coding at the age of 5 in this technology world. They begin coding with a program we call Tinker. Our first graders, they actually create their own ABC books. And this is a little bit not just ABCs. They're downloading pictures, they're actually typing descriptions, and they're going forth and they can actually pull videos into it. Great skills that our first graders are learning. Second graders create word clouds and code with Angry Birds. Third graders make their own video game with Scratch. Fourth and fifth create and code with Code Combat, Minecraft, Star Wars, and Frozen. And fourth and fifth begin learning some JavaScript. Each of these programs are placed on our website, so when children are not at Loretto Elementary, they can log on at home and they can be practicing all of these skills that they've learned from Mr. Welser, our computer teacher.
All right, good evening. In addition to our technology resource dedicated teacher as well as an additional dedicated lab, we are also fortunate to have 2 music teachers as well as 2 art teachers. One focuses on 2D art, drawing and painting, while the other one focuses on 3D art such as texture and pottery. We are fortunate to have a kiln in our art room so that students can actually create their own pottery while at Loretto. The technology aspect of our art program is that once the artwork has been created, it is digitally uploaded into a platform called Artsonia so that parents and family members across the country can view and purchase these works of art, not only digitally, but I was actually speaking to a parent this evening before they started, actually had grandparents purchase the artwork on t-shirts, and so they can walk around and display their child's artwork. So it's a really cool platform that we utilize at Loretto. We also are fortunate to have smart boards in every classroom, so the teachers use them whole group for direct instruction, and then as you can see in the picture, students also use them for presentations. We also participate in podcasts. One of our 3rd grade ELA classrooms was fortunate enough to engage in one with the author of How to Train Your Dragon. Also, our gifted students Skype regularly with other students across the country on various topics that they are exploring. We have various after-school clubs at Loretto, such as drama, dance, honor chorus, coding, and gardening. We also have organizations such as Student Council and Girls on the Run, and we are very excited. This is our first year. We launched the National Elementary Honor Society. So our inductees this year were 4th graders, and we're super excited next year, so we will have 4th and 5th grade. So we are very excited that we added that to our organizations. Another thing that we would like to brag about is our Science Fair District Award winners. We really did well there with 2 of our students. And finally, what we are most excited about, and I'm going to invite Ms. Kemp back up to talk about, is our under construction science lab. So, Ms. Kemp.
So we were fortunate that our SAC committee and a fundraiser with some support of our PTA, we were able to purchase all the furniture for our new STEM lab. We received a $2,500 grant from Lowe's through one of our PTA members, and we are buying 3D printers. And then we're moving forward and checking out some 3D programs that we can place on computers, one to go into our computer lab and one to go into our STEM lab. So we are very, very excited about opening our STEM lab at the beginning of this school year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Loretto Elementary is the oldest school in District 7. It's 76 years old. Does an excellent job, has a great legacy in our community, and is certainly a very popular elementary school. And I appreciate your leadership and your work that you do there. And I'm excited to hear you're pursuing the 3D computers. I shared with you last year that Vice Chair Jones and I were on a CUBE conference, the Council of Urban Boards of Education, and we got to play on 3D computers. You remember that? Yeah. It was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see that we may have that here in our district soon. Thank you for your leadership. We are now at a time in our agenda where we recognize and present certificates. So Dr. Green, if you would join me down front.
we begin with 5 men and women who have distinguished themselves as leaders whose efforts are ultimately supporting the success of our students. They are the Parent Academy's newest parent leaders, a unique group of caregivers, community members, and parents who have not only committed themselves to learning and growing, but they also have a desire to help support this initiative. If you didn't already know, the Parent Academy is a free family resource. Community members can enroll in courses all over the city with topics that fall under student achievement, parenting and advocacy, or personal and individual growth. To become a parent leader, these 5 had to complete at least 6 Parent Academy courses, demonstrate leadership, and commit to support DCPS Parent Academy. With this designation, these parent leaders are now advocates. They can facilitate and monitor courses, engage the community at district events, network with various groups, and much more, all to ensure that as many people as possible know the value of the Parent Academy. By the way, it's worth mentioning that this past school year, the Parent Academy had an all-time high attendance rate of over 10,000 people. Joining us from the Department of Family and Community Engagement to celebrate these new leaders and to present them with pins are Executive Director Tia Leathers, Parent Academy Supervisor Reagan Copeland, and Parent Academy Specialists Ashley Vanden Myracker and Miriam Williams. Our new parent leaders are Alita Turner, Gus Gustafson, Shatavia Edie, Samet Cool, and Carrie Welton. Please help us congratulate these Parent Academy parent leaders.
Tighten up.
This concludes this evening's presentations.
Congratulations, lady.
You can tell it's not summer. I mean, that it's summer, it's not the school year, right? That there's usually a longer portion in our meeting. Pursuant to Board Policy 2.26, board members may attend board meetings and participate and vote through the use of interactive video and or telephone systems. That the Duval County School Board approve the participation of board member Ashley Smith Juarez via interactive video or telephone systems. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Chair Jones and seconded by Board Member Willie. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, do we do a formal vote? Okay, we need to vote on that option for Board Member Smith Warren as to join us by phone. By your action 6-0, we have approved Board Member Smith Juarez joining us by phone.
Madam Chair, we're ready.
Approval of the July 2nd, 2019 agenda. That the Duval County School Board approve the July 2nd, 2019 agenda as submitted on June 25, 2019 with the following changes. Approval of agenda, approval of board member via interactive video telephone systems, item added. Human resources systems, staffing, human resource services, employee transaction, attachment amended. Reappointment of social worker specialist and psychologist, attachment amended. Reappointment of school-based administrators, attachment amended. Reappointment of district administrators, attachment amended. Operations pursuing and logistics, RFP number 08-19. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning services, item amended, attachment removed. Board travel, item added. Discussion, academic services, public hearing and vote. Revisions to the 2019-2020 Code of Student Conduct, attachments amended. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Vice Chair Jones. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. Is it?
Chairman Hershey, would you
Okay.
ask for Board Member Smith Juarez's
Oh,
vote?
Board Member Smith Juarez, do you approve the agenda with the amendments? Board Member Smith Juarez, are you there? I thought she was on the line. Board Member Smith Juarez?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I don't know if you heard, we are on the approval of the agenda. Just need your vote.
My vote is yes.
Do we have record of the other votes as recorded? By your actions, we have passed this 7-0. We are now to the chair report. The road to getting the referendum on the ballot has been much longer than anticipated. The silver lining in this prolonged process has been the public conversation about our schools. For the first time, we are having a community conversation about public education. Tonight, the board will vote on our master plan as presented by Dr. Green. And it's important to remember that the engineering firm as well as the financial analysis were done by firms that have performed similar work for our city. Our process has been methodical and it touches every school in our district. Master planning is a responsibility of this body, and when funding for capital needs was stronger, we were able to address facility needs and even build new schools. Those days are gone. In fact, dollars previously available for capital needs have been peeled away over the past decade. Duval County Public Schools has experienced a $300 million decrease in funds for capital needs since 2010. While we did not get here overnight, this is the first time where there has been an alignment with the superintendent as well as the school board to pursue a revenue stream to fund a master plan. Under Dr. Green's leadership, she has delivered a plan that has the potential to redefine the face of public education in our city. It is an equitable plan and can be the spark that we need. This board has also dared to take political risk and pursue a funding source, which if passed means this will be a master plan that goes to work in lieu of collecting dust on a bookshelf. In a few seconds, we are going to see a video, not now. And in that video, I just want to point out a few things. Smart boards have replaced chalkboards. Fewer classrooms today have rows of neatly lined desks. Gone are the days of passive learning in the classroom. Today, students are active learners in the classroom. However, some of our schools were built for a different time. As we watch the video, I ask you to consider this question: are we ready to take public education in Duval County to the next level?
A look inside your public schools. Gee whiz, that looks fun and educational. Well, that was then and this is now. Times have changed in Duval County and so have your options. Our students are programming robots in STEM and learning career trades like construction. They're attending military leadership academies and enrolling in sports medicine, management, and broadcast programs. With so many neighborhood, magnet, and choice options, we don't have time to name them all. But we do have something unique for every student. Discover today's Duval County Public Schools.
You've seen how far we come. Now let's see how far we can go. Dr. Green.
Thank you, Ms. Hershey. I'm actually going to give my time to Mr. Davis, the Chief Academic Officer. He is going to go over, we just had our school FSA scores released, and we felt this was a perfect time to share that information. Do you want this? Oh, sorry.
Good evening, board chair, ladies and gentlemen on the board, everyone. Well, I don't know if we're watching. Are we, Tracy, yet? But everyone here. We had the data release on, I believe it was last Wednesday. There are state assessment scores released. Oh, there we go. All right, we're up and running. For the 2018-19 school year, I want to remind you that these are the preliminary results that we are sharing, that the results may vary. Once we receive the district and school grades, it may look a little bit different because of the process that the state goes through to finalize our district and school grade cells and what students are actually counted in the cells. This is representative of everyone. What you're about to see tonight is representative of everyone in the district. So for the categories that we have for our achievement levels, you have 52% or 11 of 21 areas increased in our proficiency rate, and this is measuring horizontal. So those of you that have been on the board a while know I always speak about looking at data horizontal and vertical. Horizontal means you're comparing grade level to grade level. When you look at vertical data, you're looking at the cohort movement, which will do both. This slide here is speaking strictly on the horizontal movement, grade level to grade level. 11 of the 21 grade levels showed increases, 9 of the 21 were decreases, and 1 of 21 maintained. Starting with ELA proficiency, if you look at grade 3, we were at 51, grade 4, 52, and grade 5, 51. That is a +1 in 3rd grade, a +3 in 4th grade, and we are down 1 in 5th grade. And the cohort movement I'll show you in a little bit shows a little different story here with the 5th graders this year. Our overall ELA movement, we increased 1 percentage point from 2017-18 to 2018-19. Our middle school proficiency for 6th grade, we were at 47, which is up 3. 7th grade, we're at 44, which is again a 3-point increase. And 8th grade is a 2-point decrease when you're looking at it 8th grade to 8th grade. Again, we'll look at the cohort analysis in a minute, but that is down 2 points from the previous year. Overall, 46 is the ELA achievement and proficiency. That is a +1 increase as well in the middle school grades. When you look at high school, 9th and 10th grade, they're both at 48. We're down 1 in 10th. We remain stagnant in 9th grade. The ELA overall in high school decreased 1. So that is our area where we decreased 1. Moving into the cohort analysis, if you look at the bar graph, the blue is last year and the green is this year. So the first set of bars is 3rd to 4th grade, and it progresses up 4th to 5th, 5th to 6th. And if you look at all of our cohorts, the only cohort that has a downward movement is 5th to 6th grade and also 8th to 9th grade. And if you remember, our 5th grade, when you looked at it vertical, our 5th grade remained flat. It's actually the 5th graders were +1. So as 4th graders are at 49, they're now at 50. And in 7th grade, where we also had a decrease when you looked at grade level to grade level, that group of students is actually up 7% in proficiency. So we captured another 7% of students. They were able to perform at a 3 or better on the ELA assessment. That's a really big jump for a group of students. Our areas of concern, obviously, high school is remaining flat, so we're going to look at high school and we're going to address the areas where our cohort movement is dropping, which that is 5th to 6th grade and also from 8th to 9th grade. So it's all in the high school in the 5th to 6th grade, the movement from the different grade bands. For mathematics, when you look at mathematics on our 3rd grade, we were increased, we were +2. 4th grade, we were +4. And 5th grade, we were down 4. So that 5th grade actually matches the cohort movement also that you'll see in a minute, the 4th to 5th grade. Overall, our elementary, our mathematics, was 61. That's a 1 percentage point increase from last year. In our middle grades, we were looking at a +9 in 6th grade. We're down 3 in 7th, and we're +1 in 8th. So the +9 and 6, that's a really big jump, and we'll look at the cohort movement again from students that are progressing from 6th to 7th grade here in a second. And here we are with our cohort data. Our cohort data, when you see it, our 3rd graders actually increased, our current 4th graders increased 5 percentage points over last year. Our current 5th graders dropped, so that matches the drop. The drop was 4 when you looked at grade level to grade level, and now that you look at our cohort, our 4th to 5th grade, we lost 3 percentage points. So that's fairly consistent. So there's something, we have to do a little bit of review and research there to figure out what's going on. Our 5th to 6th grade also had a significant drop. We do have some students that go into Algebra 1, but not many. It would not indicate that big of a drop, so we're also reviewing that area. And then our 6th to 7th grade, where you saw the 7th grade data, when you look at it vertically, the 7th grade data actually dropped when you look at last year's 7th graders to this year's 7th graders. But this year's 7th graders, when they were in 6, were at 42% proficiency, and now they're at 47. So we captured another 5% of those students on the assessment, which is really good. And that'll translate into learning gains and bottom quartile when we get that data back from the Florida Department of Education. Moving into our algebra, if you see our algebra, we decreased 2 in middle school, and we also decreased 6 in high school algebra, so that is an area where we are troubleshooting currently. Our middle school geometry decreased 3, but our high school geometry increased 5, so that is a substantial increase from the previous years. Overall, our algebra is at 58, and our geometry is at 62. And as you see, the algebra was down total, and our geometry was actually up 5 percentage points. Science. This is the fun slide. So science, 5th and 8th grade, we saw significant decreases. We are in the process of reviewing scope and sequence, as you'll see a little bit later. I had conversations with the superintendent and the chief in schools, and we will be reviewing scope and sequence and look at what we need to do in 5th and 8th grade science. Our biology has gone up 4 percentage points. So our biology continues to increase, even though we reset our bar a few years ago. U.S. history is up 4 from the previous year, and civics is down 15. So the civics last year was a big to-do when we changed our pupil progression, or our student progression path for when the students actually take civics. What I will tell you is, just like in Algebra 1 and just like in geometry, biology, and U.S. history, we now have a new baseline. Our new baseline, and I stood up here before you last year and said the same thing, that we would get a new baseline now. Our new baseline is now 69. That is our new baseline. Our baseline previously, so if you go back 2 years ago, we were at 65. So with our scheduling tweaks, we are now at 69, and that is our new baseline for where we will progress upward from here. Strategies that we are going to implement moving in, and this will change as we get the rest of the data back from the Florida Department of Education and do our analysis. We want to promote literacy everywhere. We want to make sure we have literacy-rich schools, literacy-rich classrooms, literacy-rich community. We want to make sure that that is promoted everywhere that we go. We will have an explicit tier support system in both ELA and mathematics, that you all have approved the majority of the items already, and that once you approve the final one, I believe is on tonight, we will have a clear path to move toward getting a cleared system of tiered support for students that is prescriptive and gives them exactly what they need. Our professional learning support will be geared toward those items and toward what the teachers need in order to move the students forward and to get them to increase their performance. And then we do have new quarterly assessments in every single area. So previously we've been using iReady and Achieve mainly, and we had assessments at mid-year, and the only assessment we had was the mid-year scrimmage. Well, now we have moved after conversations, with the superintendent, chief of schools, we moved to quarterly assessments that we will be assessing the standards that are taught that quarter, and it will be built on every quarter. So it'll be a cumulative assessment as we move forward to get a better gauge of where we are. And we're hoping that is one of the things that will assist with our science and our mathematic areas. Very specifically for science, we're going to look at increasing our use of PENDA as well. PENDA is a platform that is approved for 5th, 8th grade in biology, and we've used it. We'll be using it in more schools in the coming year. And for history and civics, we want to continue our law studies scope and sequence and make sure that we put the right students in law studies before they take that civics test, and make sure that our path of progression up to U.S. history matches the students' needs, and so that when they're placed in these classes, they're ready to take the assessment. And the data will be coming back hopefully in the next couple of weeks with district grades and school grades, and we'll know, we'll have a firm grasp on exactly where we are.
Thank you very much. We are now on the public comment portion of our agenda. Those wishing to address the board must fill out a blue speaker card. The school board welcomes your comments on matters that are before the board for consideration. It is not the board's intent to respond this evening, but to use the input in our deliberations. To give everyone appropriate respect and courtesy, we ask the audience to refrain from audible comments or applause. When you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. When the green light in front of me starts blinking, you will have a minute remaining. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds remaining. When it turns red and the buzzer sounds, your time will be up. If your concerns exceed that time, you may present written comments to the board. You are asked to refrain from references to specific individuals and to follow expectations for civil discourse. Please remember that speaker cards were only accepted until 6:20 p.m. Thank you for taking time to address the board. Jackie Smith, followed by Tim Miller and Darlene Miller.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Smith, Jackie Smith, and I am the Director of Special Operations for Congressman John Rutherford. And I'm here tonight just to bring to your awareness programs that we have from the U.S. House of Representatives. They are sponsored by the Congress and can be viewed and accessed on our website at rutherford.house.gov. The same programs are available to your constituents from Congressman Al Lawson's office. Right now, I am working with rising seniors who desire to attend a military service academy, and candidates are completing their nomination packets. Last year, our office sent 3 to the Naval Academy, 4 to West Point, and 4 to the Air Force Academy. Additionally, 3 students are in Service Academy prep schools, and we're happy to help all of your students in that process. The high school art competition this past spring attracted 76 pieces of art from 8 schools. The winning colored pencil drawing is hanging in the Capitol. I was disappointed that only Sandalwood and Stanton participated in Duval, but I know that this show competes with other more prestigious events. The Congressional Youth Award is open to all young people beginning at 14. I know many of our students fulfill the requirements outlined in the program, but don't apply and thus cannot use things like their volunteer hours to earn the medals. We had only 2 students go to D.C. last month to accept their gold medals from Congressman Rutherford at the ceremony. Neither were from Duval County, but in the past, our largest group has been from the Beaches Habitat Education Center. Finally, there is the app challenge for middle and high school students, which encourages students to learn how to code by challenging them to create a game or solve a problem with an app. I understand from my 11-year-old granddaughter that you can do everything through an app. Personally, that is very untrue for me. But for the younger generation, as we heard earlier, they are already doing things like that, and I'm sure some of our basic problems will be solved through an app. Thank you for allowing me to introduce these programs, and I have some handouts so that you can learn more about them. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Tim Miller, followed by Darlene Miller, followed by John Turner.
Good evening. My name is Tim Miller. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Superintendent Green and the board and the public in general for the amazing amount of support that we're getting for the sales tax referendum. It's been all over the place. There's a lot of comments that are going back and forth. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation that's also coming out. And unfortunately, it's some people that are former elected officials on both the city council and the school board. So one thing that I keep getting asked when I talk to people or when I read comments is, how is the school board funded? There have been articles here and there, but I feel what we need is kind of a comprehensive, here's how the school district is funded. You know, a quick presentation, we can say here it is. Because when you start talking about sales tax and PICO dollars and lottery funds, a lot of people don't know where that money goes. And so it would be nice to get just a quick presentation to say here it is. And that way it's a lot easier conversation with people. Also, maybe let's take some people on tours of the schools. Even the schools that people don't think are in need of a lot of repairs, there are still issues at every school, and that's documented well in the plan that every school will benefit from this. I think the public support is coming our way in support of this. People I've talked to, there are some people that have been against it, but after some conversations, they now understand the need for it, so that's great. I think we need to keep pushing and keep moving forward for a 2019 election date or referendum date. I feel they also need to know that even though we've got schools that are outdated, we're still moving forward. The presentation from Loretto this afternoon on all of the new stuff, all the STEM technology that's going into that school, people need to know that we're not sitting still. We're still moving forward. So I appreciate your support and thank you for keep pushing for 2019. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I would like you just to piggyback a little bit off of him, because I know I've had discussions online and in face-to-face with people about funding and this or that and misinformation. Just to let you know too, you might want to go over a little bit about the difference between the public schools, charter schools, and things like that, because it's come to my attention through a former elected official chatting back and forth on comments that they're equating certified teachers with unionized teachers. And those are two different things. You can be certified and have nothing to do with the union. But they're people actually telling people that we don't have certified teachers because we have control over our staff. We don't have to go through the union, or we can fire them if they do something. That has nothing to do with actually being certified. I know that, y'all know that, but I'm just letting you know that misinformation is being spread by people who also do know that. On a different note, coming back to the ESE children, when I attended my son's graduation, it was wonderful. I was very concerned about it. He is high functioning, but he does have some issues. But it was wonderful. Atlantic Coast made it a great experience. They kept track of him, and they had somebody actually keeping track of him, making sure he was okay, making sure he did everything fine, and he did everything like everybody else did. And then we noticed also for some of the lower functioning kids, they actually had like staff members that actually walked them through graduation, which was great. And the reason I point that out is I got an email from a parent the other day that was very upsetting to me as a child with special needs, that her child was in the elementary world, but apparently in the self-contained classrooms did not participate in like 5th grade activities, such as 5th grade graduation, 5th grade pictures, 5th grade dances. And it was kind of like a little disturbing to me, because these parents have every right to, with their children, to experience everything everybody else gets to do. So I just like to keep that in your minds when y'all write policies or directives or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. John Turner.
Good evening. My name is John Turner. As most of you already know, I have a long history of standing here exposing waste, fraud, and abuse. Sometimes my speeches are effective in changing policy, but all too often they are not. When I fail, it's not because my facts were proven wrong or my solutions were too expensive, but rather it would not serve the interest of those who stand to lose a lot of money in the business of perpetual failure. Tonight, I will give another example how the school board would rather spend millions for perpetual failure, but not a penny for an independent audit to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. Tonight, I'm going to dismiss the notion that the school board does not have enough money to replace broken down air conditions. But first, it's my moral duty to expose and condemn a dirty tactic that's being used to ramrod the sales tax initiative through. That dirty tactic is the demonization of all those who oppose. Demonization is a refuge of those who know the truth is not on their side. So out of desperation, they viciously attack the opposition in order to shut down meaningful debate. This method was on full display during the recent City Council public hearing of Bill 380, where City Council members sat for hours listening to speakers imply that anyone voting against the sales tax referendum must be a racist. After all, what kind of person would allow a black child to sit in a classroom without air conditioning? Why, the only logical answer is they must be a racist. The school board was present during the public hearing, and when they had a chance to speak, they did not denounce those playing the race card. Yet they knew full well then, as well as now, the failure to make timely repairs to those broken down air conditioners were not the fault of evil racist Republicans in Tallahassee or city council members, but the mismanagement of their own budget. The truth is out there for the Times Union to see if only they were honest enough to look. Proof of the school board's deception and conclusion with the Times Union will be seen tonight when the school board will vote and approve the extension of a multi-million-dollar contract to outsource AC repairs for an additional 5 schools. Now let's see if the Times Union will stick around tonight and ask the school board, where did they get that money from? Did that money come from $30 million of unassigned funds left over from last year's budget? If so, why didn't they use those funds last year in the first place? And why can't they use the rest of the $30 million to replace as many AC units as they can before the next school year starts? After all, if the school board really cared about children going to school without air conditioning, then why didn't you use all the available funds? No one in Tallahassee or city council was stopping you. Why? The only logical answer is the school board must be racist. You see how evil and hurtful that statement is? Please tell people don't use that. Give them the facts. You do have money. Use it appropriately. You can fix those air conditions before school starts. Thank you for listening.
We are now on the portion to hear comments from parent organizations. Is there anyone here from parent organization wishing to speak?
Good evening, Chairperson Hershey, school board members, and Dr. Green. My name is Kathy Geiler, and I'm the first VP representing Duval County Council of PTAs tonight. I wanted to let you know that we are working hard over the summer, organizing things for our next school year, offering training to our local units, and assisting them where needed. We have several Duval County Council members who will be attending the Florida Leadership Convention later this month, as well as many local unit PTAs. Lastly, at our May Board of Managers meeting, we voted unanimously to support the half-cent sales tax to support our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from parent organizations wishing to speak? I do not believe tonight that we have anyone from the Student Government Association to speak. We are now on comments from employee organizations. Anyone here from employee organizations wishing to speak? We are now on approval of minutes. That the Duval County School Board approve the minutes for the meetings listed in the agenda item. May 21, 2019 Board Workshop and Committee Meeting. June 4, 2019, board workshop. June 4, 2019, regular board meeting. June 5, 2019, joint meeting with Duval County School Board and Schultz Board. June 11, 2019, board workshop. June 12, 2019, joint meeting, Councilman Gaffney and Superintendent Green. June 13, 2019, special board meeting, student expulsion hearings. June 18th, City Council Finance Committee meeting. June 18, 2019, City Council Rules Committee meeting. June 19, 2019, board workshop and committee meeting. June 24, 2019, special board meeting. Resolution to re-adopt 2018-2019 budget. June 24, 2019, audit committee meeting. Is there a motion? A motion?
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Vice Jones. Vice Chair Jones. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. And Board Member Smith Juarez, are you with us to vote on?
We lost her.
We lost her? Okay. Can we still vote?
Yes.
Okay. By your actions, you have passed this unanimously 6-0. Approval of consent agenda. Are there any items to place on the consent agenda or items for discussion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
It was moved by Board Member Anderson and seconded by Board Member Grimes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, we have passed this item 6-0. We are we going to try and reconnect with Board Member Smith Juarez before moving to the next part?
Madam Chair, when we get her, I'll let you know.
Okay, we are on the facilities project design construction. Should we go ahead? Okay. Operations, facilities project design, construction, and maintenance. Approval of master facility plan recommendation, a bold plan for Duval County Public Schools. Dr. Green, will you read your recommendation?
Yes, ma'am. That the Duval County School Board approve the superintendent's master facilities plan recommendations, a bold plan for Duval County Public Schools. That the Duval County School Board authorize the superintendent to conduct a district enrollment study every 5 years to update the board regarding the findings of the study and to bring any recommended changes to the master facility plan resulting from the enrollment study.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
It was moved by Vice Chair Jones and seconded by Board Member Grimes. Board Member Joyce, you have pulled this item for discussion.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As I said during our discussion of the resolution to approve the half-cent sales tax, my view is that the resolution should have followed passage of a master facilities plan. It is the vision of the plan that will drive support for the funding. As it is, we have faced the criticism that comes when the ask comes before the demonstration of specific concerns, concerning how the new revenue will be used. But that is all water under the bridge. As we sit here tonight, the sentiment I have heard from members of City Council is that that sales tax vote will come in November of 2020. If that is most likely reality, I encourage the board to treat this time we have been given as a gift. With a vote most likely to occur 16 months from now, we have an opportunity to answer the most frequently asked questions I get and fine-tune what is now a rough draft. For example, I would like to approve a plan that clearly demonstrates what the Citizens Review Committee looks like, what professions will be invited to join, how their authority will be exercised, how we address the planned growth coming to various parts of Jacksonville, how we plan to bridge the gap between the $1.9 billion plan and the $1.3 billion revenue estimate from the tax, what the phases of implementation are, and when the recipients of new projects can reasonably expect to see buildings come out of the ground. Imagine the support that could be added to the already existing support if these and other detail-oriented questions are answered before the campaign for passage begins. What I want is the same thing we all want: excellent facilities, housing excellent education that mark Duval County as a destination city for businesses and families. My firm conviction is that with an additional conversation, a more complete plan that addresses the questions I've mentioned, and the engagement of all stakeholders in the process, we not only get this on a ballot, but get overwhelming approval from the people of Jacksonville. Therefore, I urge the board to consider deferring this vote to allow the process more time to develop. The alternative, moving forward, without consideration of the well-intended questions I have heard, means facing the very real prospect of failing to convince a supermajority of the need. On a separate note, and related more broadly to growing community trust and our transparency, I urge the board to consider again the Audit Advisory Committee I have presented this year. With volunteer financial experts acting as another set of eyes to help the board work through the complications that naturally come with a $1.7 billion budget, we would elevate the confidence of the community in our decision. Madam Chair.
Are there any other comments? Did we have Board Member Smith Flores on the phone? I can't see.
No, we do not.
Okay. Any comments, Vice Chair Jones?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand the concerns that Board Member Joyce has expressed, and I share some of those concerns, but I also realize that we've gone through the process of meeting with City Council members, answering all these questions that you've outlined before, and feel like that we need to move forward with the plan, because if the City Council decides to vote on it at their very next meeting, then we still would not have ratified the superintendent's recommendation. If they decide to vote on it next meeting for 2020 or next meeting for 2019, we have taken that away because we have not even approved or adopted the plan. I think it's time to move forward with the plan. We've had 20-some odd community meetings, and I've met with several council members. I joined the superintendent when 8 council members from the previous council met with us to go over some of those same questions that were raised. How are you going to bridge the gap between $1.4 billion sales tax and the $1.9 billion need? We've addressed those same issues that were raised in those meetings. Apparently, unfortunately, you were not present at that meeting, but there were 3 of us there. I think you all were in Tampa for a conference, but we tried to address and did address all those concerns that were expressed, and to delay it at this point, I think, serves no purpose at all for this board. It only serves the purpose of delaying a decision by the City Council, which could very well take it up at the next meeting.
It's my understanding, Ms. Chastain, if you could share with the board, we had a conversation while we were discussing the master plan tonight, and that's what we're voting on. When we drafted the resolution and sent it over to City Hall, there's my understanding that the role of then the City Council would be to put it on the ballot. But what I'd like for you to share with the board is our conversation about our resolution that we sent over being legally sufficient to be placed on the ballot.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chairman. So the agenda item tonight is a master facility plan, but the surtax statute requires that there be, I'm using quotes, a plan attached to the resolution. And with the Office of General Counsel, myself and my colleagues, a legally sufficient plan is attached to the resolution. So that is the plan for purposes of complying with the statutory requirements for the surtax and the resolution that the board adopts. The plan before you tonight is a different item with much more detail, but is not the statutory plan that is attached to the resolution, which is much more broad and covers the permissible uses of the revenue should it be a successful endeavor.
So the resolution and the legislation that was crafted out of that resolution that we sent over is legally sufficient to be placed upon for the ballot.
Madam Chairman, that is correct.
Okay, and then this discussion tonight is our more specific detail of the plan. Did we have Board Member Smith-Rose on the phone yet? We do not. Board Member Anderson?
Thank you. I wanted to specifically address some of the points that you made. I jotted them down here. So the oversight committee that you talked about, I don't see that has a place in this plan. And so maybe the superintendent can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was my understanding that we would discuss an oversight committee, what the policy would look like for that committee, who might be involved in that committee. Once we had a plan in place based on the superintendent's recommendations, and if and when there's a referendum to move forward with, because the oversight committee comes with using the revenue from the sales tax. So it seems like it would be a separate issue, and I'm not seeing you.
Oh, it is.
Right? I mean, it doesn't seem like it would go together here. So it seemed like it would be a separate issue away from this particular facilities plan. So I don't know how we would do that in tandem, and we haven't even the council hasn't even moved the referendum. So as we discussed, I think in our previous workshop, it doesn't make sense for us to continue forward with an oversight committee for something that we don't even have a date for. So I think that's one piece. Addressing growth. The way I've heard it in the workshops that we've had, we have no way to address growth now, right? We know that concurrency isn't effective, and I know you and I have had conversations, and the rest of the board around the table, about what would need to happen to make concurrency effective. And the way that it stands now, it's not an option. It's not going to produce funds for us to grow. So without an additional revenue stream, growth won't be addressed. And a new construction and new build is separate from addressing the backlog of maintenance or the deferred maintenance that we haven't been able to take care of. And despite some of the comments that we've heard tonight, we aren't just throwing money in the air and we have all this money that we're hoarding somewhere to replace the things that need to be replaced. So a big portion of this particular plan also addresses the facilities condition index. It's not just about new builds. The other thing that I thought was interesting that we talked about in our workshop is the idea that through a local revenue stream, we would have more flexibility for being able to address growth as needed. And maybe Dr. Green or through the chair, you might be able to address how the local tax revenue would function a little differently than the revenue from the state, or excuse me, for approval for new development or for new construction. Does that function a little differently?
Through the chair, regardless of whether it's state or local, the 5-year master plan that we are required to bring to the board every single year and then submit to DOE, you still have to show those projects on that master plan. So if this is approved in our next 5 year, we will update it based on information from this plan. And it doesn't matter that the funding will come from local sources to pay for the majority of the projects in this plan. What gives you the freedom is that the state may say, you don't need a school here. But because it's local dollars, this board can say, no, we want a school here because based on our enrollment study says in 10 years or 5 years or that there's an expectation that there will be growth in this area. So that's where the flexibility comes in with your local dollars versus the dollars we get now, our 1.5 mills that we receive for capital. That 5-year plan, it has to be inside that 5-year plan for us to do a project that we're using those dollars. It must be stated, and but for growth, that's where your local dollars gives you a lot more flexibility.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that brings up the other point with the enrollment projection study. I know we talked in our workshop, and I appreciate Dr. Green recommending and then changing the recommendation on this agenda item to the enrollment projection study. That was something that was happening every 10 years. That happened in concert, is the word I'm going to use, in concert with this facilities condition index. And we discussed being able to shorten the amount of time. So the recommendation now is we would do that enrollment projection study every 5 years. That'll help us have a better understanding of what the needs of the district are. You know, whether we need to make room for growing and expanding neighborhoods or whether we need to make room for growing and expanding charter options, then that's something that we can do. So I feel like moving forward with this plan and knowing that we will continue to do enrollment projection studies and knowing that we will continue to do annual review of our capital needs that will continue on our capital maintenance 5-year plan, I think that gives us opportunity to make adjustments as needed. And finally, you talked about the gap, you know, the revenue that the sales tax would bring in versus the amount that this plan outlines. And I want everyone to keep in mind that we're not losing the capital funding that we get from the state. So we'll continue to get our revenue from the state, and we'll continue, or we'll hopefully be able to bring in sales tax revenue locally, and that'll make up the full bulk of the cost of the plan. So I feel like these are conversations that we continue to have, and I don't understand how we're going to address these concerns any differently. And if we fail to approve this plan tonight, then we continue to leave our community, our council members, the city administration saying we don't have a plan. And I think that we've looked very closely at all of these details that you're outlining.
Well, I don't believe that those questions have been answered in what we are approving tonight to start with. But
Because it's not the same conversation,
I think that they should be answered in the plan that we are approving tonight. The $1.9 billion is the money's been distributed in this plan. So that implementation process, I think, is important, and I think we need to have a conversation about that. Because if there is growth in 5 years, then it's going to take money away from someone else, because all of the money has been allotted. So if there's growth in 5 years and we come back and we look at this plan, then some school, something is going to have to give because there's no additional money. When we talk about concurrency, you know, is there a place? And I know we've had a couple of conversations, but I haven't received any evidence that concurrency, we can't get to a place in the district where we reduce enough seats so that we can get concurrency. I know we've said it can't be done, but I haven't received any evidence of that. And all I'm saying is that there's a lot more conversation that can be had, and we can make this plan better and more solid so that we can sell it to the voters of Duval County.
Thank you. Just for the future, if you just go through the chair before you respond. Vice Chair Jones.
Dr. Green had a point.
Dr. Green.
I did want to address a couple of questions that were asked. The master's facilities plan is separate and apart from the board's desire to have an independence, and because that is tied to the resolution. This plan would have existed regardless of whether the board chose to go for a referendum or not. We've done this, we've gone through this exercise once every 10 years. It is just, at this point, we actually are trying to say, we believe we actually need to try to go find funding to fund this plan. So the independent citizens advisory, that is a whole nother conversation that is a requirement of the board, not the superintendent. So I wouldn't even be the person bringing that recommendation because it would be the board's independent citizens committee. As for the plan, and we really are tying this to the referendum because that is our best option to actually have an opportunity to fund this plan. But as any plan, it may come in over the cost that we're saying this is the revenue that would come in to support it. But we will continue to have cost savings when we are looking at consolidations. Many times we can't project what that cost is because we are doing this actually over a 10-year period. The goal is to have the plan implemented within 10 years. Probably see Mr. Nelson's head spinning around, but that is our goal, to fully implement this in 10 years, though we have a funding stream that would be for 15 years. And the reason that we're saying do it in 10 years is now and the enrollment every 5, if we are experiencing growth, it kind of coincides with more sales tax. If more people are coming, more people are spending, it increases your sales tax, which gives you an opportunity to make those adjustments that says, oh, out in School Board Member Joyce, we are seeing these homes actually popped up, and now we have a 5-year study that says, yes, there is going to be growth, but it should also coincide with more sales tax dollars coming into the district. Please remember, we budget this at a very conservative 80. We budgeted as if 80 million stayed flat for 15 straight years, that there was no increase of revenue, though our financial advisor gave you 3 probabilities or 3 scenarios of funding opportunities from 80 million all the way up to 106 million. We truly believe we have a strong plan based on the student enrollment data trends that we have to date for the next 10 years, based on Jacobs Engineering FCI study, the Facilities Condition Index, and using cooperative strategies to look at the cost of construction, built-in inflation might not be the right terminology, but approximate increased costs in construction. So the information that we have in this plan is the true up-to-date information, the best information based on the data that we have that's telling us that our enrollment is going to be flat over the next 10 years. Yes, charter enrollment is going to increase, and that is why there are approximately 33 schools being affected by consolidation, because we are anticipating that charter schools enrollment will increase. And that is why at the last workshop, I also shared that there needs to be a plan to include charter schools in that process, but that is also not part of the master's facilities plan, because that's based on if we actually have a referendum and it passes.
Vice Chair Jones, did you want to say?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I share the School Board Member Joyce's concern about growth and how do we pay for that and how do we address that. I think the superintendent addressed it well. I mean, the number that the half-penny sales tax would generate is very conservative, $80 million a year. Right now it's projected to be $100 million this calendar year. So I think there's plenty of opportunity to address the growth on the west side that you're concerned with. Secondly, if they're planning to build 12,000 homes anywhere, it's going to be over a 10 to 20 year period. It's not going to be the next 5 or 10 years. You can't build that many homes that quickly. And when they did the Argyle Forest development years ago, back in the 80s, that was a 25-year development. So it does take time, and you never know what the economy may do. But as the superintendent pointed out, if you got more people living here, they're spending more dollars. That means the sales tax does increase, and we can address it. And every 5 years, we need to come back and look at where is the growth, how is the attendance in the school district, how has it grown, and how do we address that need. And I'm sure at some point in time, if the council and the school board is concerned about our schools, they may have to extend the half-penny sales tax for another 15 years, like they did the half-penny for the pension plan, because they would have identified a need in this community to address schools, and I hope and pray that happens.
Remember, Willie?
I think one of the key components that happened in that last board workshop was the adjustment of the 10-year to the 5-year. That answers so many questions for a lot of the folks that I know had similar questions to that. I know in my community. But what's beautiful about this board as well is there's so many different perspectives, because you're getting that, and I get some of that, but the majority of what I'm getting is let's move forward, let's march ahead, let's do these things, and that's what's great about having a different constituents. But that 5-year piece is critical because of the buildings and development that could happen. Those things may not happen. Those things are not going to happen so fast that we can't adjust in that 5-year period. Same thing with the charter piece, that with that 5-year window, it gives us a lot of leeway to make the adjustments and changes there. The other piece is how I am looking at this is a separation between this master's facilities plan and the resolution that we have already sort of pushed forward. Like, this is a supplement and kind of something that people are looking at, but at the end of the day, that resolution, much like many other counties that you've seen around us, it is separate. That is what it is. It is stream of money that our community just desperately needs across all sectors, and I think it's something we have to look at. And the last piece that I thought was really interesting was our ability to actually have some semblance of local control over money is powerful. And I think having this half a penny does that. And in this stream of conversation, this master's facilities plan actually gives people something to think about. So in my opinion, I'm definitely in support of this master's facilities plan, but I'm also looking at it in a very separate way. So I appreciate our ability to be able to see different vantage points and perspectives, and at this point I see it as something that we need to drive forward with today.
That's a good point. Those are two separate issues, and that was why I asked Ms. Chastain to weigh in, because even if I have a resolution from a nearby county on a table in my office, and it's one page, and it says one sentence about the plan, which again is sufficient for them to move forward with a referendum in their district, in their county if they so choose. So this is a kind of a separate piece, and I appreciate you making that point. Did you have a comment, Ms. Grimes?
Yes, all I want to say is, obviously, we have used the word bold many times, and that's what this is. It's going to take courage, and I think it's really important that we believe in this, we believe in what we're doing, and I think we should move on with a plan.
Thank you. Anyway, did you have anything else?
I will say just briefly that I really appreciate, I know that board member Joyce is a shopper, and she likes to weigh all of her options, and she likes to be very thoughtful and considerate, not move in haste. And so I do appreciate that, and I think that the conversations we've had have happened around the workshop table as well, and that has been a place where I've been able to really get a lot of information, which is why I feel comfortable moving forward with this. And I hope that you'll be able to get the answers and information that you need.
Do you have anything else to say? One thing about this plan that I think makes it so significant and bold is because it's so equitable across districts and what happens. And when I don't know what the city's going to ask us to do in regards to hurricane shelters, but when I think about the fact that so many of our schools serve as hurricane shelters for the district, and it's my understanding that there really aren't many hurricane shelters in board member Willie's district, nor in Vice Chair Jones's district, I just think that it's a great opportunity to not only for education, but for our city too as a whole with citizens. I would anticipate that the city may ask us to make some of those new schools being built able to serve as hurricane shelters, which will benefit the city as well. Without further conversation, I call for your vote. And again, did we get, all right, we did not get Board Member Smith Juarez. By your actions, you have passed this item 5-1. This will be the first master plan that I have seen that's going for funding. So that's exciting to see that can happen. We are now on to academic services, public hearing and vote modifications to the 2019-2020 student progression plan. Dr. Green, would you please read your recommendation?
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing on the revisions to the 2019-2020 student progression plan. That the Duval County School Board, following the public hearing, approve the modifications to the 2019-2020 student progression plan.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Board Member Anderson. I open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. I already did the motion part. So is that okay? Do I have to do it again?
Madam Chairman, it's fine, just if there's any discussion.
Okay, is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, you have passed this item 6-0. Academic Services, public hearing and vote revisions to the 2019-2020 Student Code of Conduct. Dr. Green, would you please read your recommendation?
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing on the revisions to the 2019-2020 Code of Student Conduct outlined in the attached summary. That the Duval County School Board, following the public hearing, approve the 2019-2020 Code of Student Conduct.
I open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this? I see Mr. Miller.
Good evening again. I noticed that you had that in the new code of conduct that the jurisdiction of the school board now officially extends into bus stops. I understand that. I think that's good, but I have one concern. That a bus stop is not defined. It's normally a street corner or an intersection, but how big is a bus stop? And this was actually a topic that I started getting into a number of years ago for a different issue, where they talked about the legality of certain things at bus stops and schools and government buildings or what have you. But how big is a bus stop? It's kind of a strange question. But in my neighborhood, there's a bus stop at the corner, but most of the kids actually wait. It's about 50 yards away because there's a nice big shade tree. So they stand under the tree, the bus comes, they all run up to the bus, and that's fine. But now that the jurisdiction of the school board is to the bus stop, is 50 yards still a bus stop? You know, if something happens, I don't want it to become a jurisdictional issue of it's the school board's issue, it's JSO's issue. So I think we need something to say, you know, this is what we consider a bus stop, so that we don't have that back and forth, and when there's a family that needs some support from one organization or the other, that they don't get it. I fully understand and support the reasoning for it. I think it's good, but I think we just need to put some clarification in there. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Chastain, we've never had a question before during and I know we had this discussion at the table. I just did not know if it was appropriate to have the question raised answered before we vote.
Madam Chairman, I don't have an answer to that specific question geographically. I don't know if, I was just going to look in board policy.
Madam Chair.
But I think for discussion, we can talk about it, but it's not a
Okay.
response,
All right,
if
so we
that's your
can-
question.
All right, so
Yes.
after we,
Right.
okay, all right. You can do,
Sorry about
do
that. I
I'll call
misunderstood.
you. All right, so, anyone else wishing to speak? I close the, public hearing. Is there a motion?
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Vice Chair Jones. Vice Chair Jones, you were gonna add?
Thank you. Through the chair, that question did come up at the workshop. And I think Director Edwards did respond and said that they work closely with JSO. And I don't know if, Director Edwards, would you come and give your answer again for the record?
Yes.
I think you have to hold that button down.
Okay then. Okay, through the chair to Board Member Jones, in reference to this situation, this is language that was added to the state statute, and as a result of that, we felt that it needed to be included in our code of conduct. This information has been shared with the Jacksonville Sheriff Office because in previous years, JSO had the primary responsibility of bus stops, but normally what would happen is that they would communicate with my communication staff. Whenever they write a report, then they're required by their policies to notify my staff, provide us that report, and if that particular case needs to be followed up by one of my investigators, it will be assigned and it will follow it up on that particular day. So when it comes to changes, there really will not be any changes. One of the good things is that we work closely together, and I think Mr. Nelson shared that we have a number of bus stops, and with our bus stops is actually a particular side of the road. For example, it could be on the north side of Beach and University, so that is considered a particular bus stop. So if we have students on the south side of that particular location, then that's not considered the bus stop. But again, regardless of whatever happened, there's going to be, if there's a need for police service, JSO will be the primary responder. They will write a report. They will share that information with my staff. And if we need to follow up on it, we will. So from a jurisdictional standpoint, I don't see any issues because we have those daily conversations on a regular basis.
Okay, and that was the main concern that we discussed at the workshop, is the fact that who would be the main responder? It would be JSO, as it has been in the past. And then once the report is written, then you would decide if the school resource officers should be involved. Is that correct? We're going to hold you to that now. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, you have passed this 6-0. Public hearing and vote approval of policy 5.28, zero tolerance for school-related crimes. Dr. Green, would you please read your recommendation?
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt an emergency rule, policy 5.28 ER, zero tolerance for school-related crimes.
I open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Board Member Anderson. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, you have passed this item 6-0. Is there another one on the same one? Oh, 529, okay. Public hearing and vote approval of policy 5.29 ER school environmental safety incident reporting. Dr. Green, would you please read your recommendation?
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt an emergency rule policy 5.29 ER school environmental safety incident reporting.
I open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Board Member Joyce. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, you have passed this item 6-0. Public hearing and vote revisions to Chapter 6 Board Policies. Dr. Green, would you read the recommendation?
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt the recommended revisions to the following policies in School Board Manual Chapter 6. Policy 6.58, Family and Medical Leave.
I open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It was moved by Vice Chair Jones and seconded by Board Member Willie. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, you have passed this item 6-0. Public hearing and vote revisions to Chapter 8 Board Policies. Dr. Green.
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt the recommended revisions to the following policies in School Board Manual Chapter 8. Number 1, Policy 8.10, Safety. Number 2, Policy 8.12, School Police. Number 3, Policy 8.17, Inspections. Number 4, Policy 8.20, Disaster Preparedness. Number 5, Policy 8.35, School Bus Operators. Number 6, Policy 8.38, Automotive Equipment Use and Maintenance. Number 7, Policy 8.44, Meal Patterns. Number 8, Policy 8.46, Use of Food Facilities. Number 9, Policy 8.95, Conservation of Resources. Excuse me.
I open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
It was moved by Vice Chair Jones and seconded by Board Member Willie. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, you've passed this item 6-0. Public hearing and vote revisions to Chapter 5 Board Policies. Dr. Green.
That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt the recommended revisions to the following policies in School Board Manual Chapter 5. Number 1, Policy 5.14, Voluntary Pre-K, VPK Enrollment. Number 2, Policy 5.15, Homeless Students. Number 3, Policy 5.22, Student Transfer Policy. Number 4, Policy 5.42, District Student Attendance Provisions. Number 5, Policy 5.46, Magnet Schools and Programs.
I open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, I close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
So moved.
It's seconded by moved by Vice Chair Jones, seconded by Board Member Grimes. Anyone wishing to speak on this? Board Member Anderson.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to the district, to Dr. Green, for Policy 5.14 VPK enrollment. I know in my district we had campers, and this created a pretty unsafe situation for many families, communities, school staff, and there's been a desire for a while to have a policy in place that addressed VPK enrollment. And so I'm really excited that we'll be able to offer a lottery option for families, and all the hard work that went into writing this policy. that's going to ensure a safe and equitable enrollment process, I really appreciate it. And that's something for families to be looking out for as we move into the next school year, that will be a different process, so they need to be ready to enter the lottery system.
Any other comments, further discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, you have passed this item 6-0. Board member travel, that the Duval County School Board approve and confirm the travel listed below for the official business of the district, and that it complies with rules of the State Board of Education. July 16 through 17, 2019, Lakeland, Florida, Florida Department of Education, State Board of Education meeting, Hershey. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing, is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
It was moved by Vice Chair Jones and seconded by Board Member Anderson. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, you've passed this item 6-0. Superintendent travel, that the Duval County School Board approve the following superintendent travel: July 16 through 19, 2019, Lakeland, Florida, Florida Department of Education, State Board of Education meeting. July 23 through 25, 2019, Orlando, Florida, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Superintendent Summit. July 30 through 31, Louisville, Kentucky Eye Care Restorative Best Practices meeting. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
It was moved by Vice Chair Jones and seconded by Board Member Willie. Any discussion? Seeing none, I call for your vote. By your actions, you have approved this 6-0. We are now on for the record. Board Member Willie, do you want to lead us off?
I sure can. First of all, welcome to the summer, everyone. It's definitely warm outside. Excited about the summer, but also excited about what some of the schools in my district are doing. Just a quick shout out to Biscayne Elementary School. If you follow them on social media, as I do, which you should, they're doing something about every week just around how to combat the summer slide, which I think is really important. We talk about that a lot. So check out that school and many other schools that are putting in resources that you can find. So if you're a parent or someone who sees or interacts with kids, I think it's important to make sure folks are staying engaged over the summer. Also just want to give a quick recognition and shout out to all the different folks who have come out and supported the efforts of public education as it connects to our half a penny, as well as the master's facilities plan. There's just so many folks who have brought in conversations, whether it's online or in person, and I think it's really important that we are having these conversations. And I want to give a special shout out to a student in District 4 who goes to R.L. Brown, Tage. Everyone knows Tage. She's like the half penny superstar at this point, and I think she's still here. Look at her. She's being shy, but she's not shy at all. She's back there. But it's students like her whose voice just reverberates in a room when it comes to things just like this. And we have to validate and elevate those types of voices, because she's only one, but there's so many other students who would speak that same sort of talk if they had that opportunity as well. So I want to just congratulate her for her courage to do that, and all of the other students who are talking online, who have talked to me about the things that are going on within their schools. I think our students can lead, and she shows that exactly what we could do. So I just want to congratulate and shout her out for that. And lastly, I got a chance to go to an amazing conference this past week, and I'll give a full report later, but it was an amazing opportunity, and it really gave me validation about how powerful this board can be. I was in a room with a lot of other school board members from around the country, and they talked about the things that were going on in their communities, and we have very similar issues that are happening around public education. But one thing that I was appreciative of is our ability as a board to be able to come to the table regardless of the issue. And maybe we may disagree, but at the end of the day, I think we center ourselves on kids and our students in our community, and that's what's important. So I'll give a more detailed report about what I saw and what I experienced, and I'll have a lot of sort of tangible things to give to the board as well, but wanted to just make sure you all knew how appreciative I was to sit on the board with you all and this wonderful superintendent, and look forward to many more years of doing that for our kids and our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Those opportunities to be with people from around the nation is always encouraging, because we realize that everybody's in the same fight no matter where you are. So it is neat to have those conversations. I'm glad it was beneficial. Board Member Anderson.
Sure, thank you. I want to say congratulations, first of all, to all of our new council members, and on the inauguration of our sheriff and our mayor. And I look forward to continuing our work with them as we move forward. We have congratulations to some new principals in my district as well. Finnegan, Kernan Middle School, Landmark Middle School, and Mayport Middle School will all welcome new principals this year, so I'm excited to be working with those new leaders as well. Additionally, to what Board Member Willie was talking about, going to conferences, we were able to go to the FSBA conference a couple of weeks ago, and I went to a breakout session that was presented by Collier County. It was called Future Ready Collier, and I was particularly interested in that breakout session because they talked about collective impact. They shared how their public education fund, their children's programming, their chamber, and their school district were all got together and worked off of one strategic plan to move children in their county. I know my jaw dropped open when they said that. But it was really exciting, and I thought that there was a lot of potential. There is a lot of potential in Duval County. There's a lot of great work happening here, and I think the leaders that we have are ready to be engaged, and I hope that we can get Duval, one city, one Jax, moving in the same direction. So I'm excited for that. I do want to also say thank you to the many, many people that have been out and engaged in the half-cent sales tax conversation. I think just the fact that we have so many community members talking about schools and education and what that looks like in Duval County is huge. Just bringing some awareness. So, whether you're for it, whether you're against it, I appreciate the engagement in the conversation. And I think that that's been really exciting. There's some misinformation out there, but I'm really surprised at how much great information people have too. So thank you for that. And to our communications team for working really, really hard getting a lot of communications out. And then finally, I'll leave with a quote from Council President Wilson's speech that he gave at his installation. It's actually a quote from Mark Twain, but he said, "Great things can happen when you don't care who gets the credit." And I thought that that was a really nice sentiment, and really in the spirit of collective impact and working together so that we can make a better future for the children in Duval County.
Thank you, Board Member Joyce.
I don't really have anything to add from what Board Member Anderson and Willie said. I thank you for being able to see a different perspective and understand that there are people that do want questions answered, and so I appreciate that support. And I just want to say happy 4th of July to everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful long weekend.
Thank you. Vice Chair Jones.
Ms. Cheryl. Thank you.
I'm getting over there.
Just joking.
I'm not going to forget Cheryl.
Everybody worried about me?
I just want to thank the many citizens that came out to the City Council meeting on the 11th of June in support of the half-penny sales tax. I think that was very commendable, and I want to thank those council members who had the courage to vote it out of finance. I think that was a big step for us, and we have more work to do. And if we truly want it to be a one city, one Jax, I think the new council will step up and support the half penny and put it on the ballot to give the public an opportunity to weigh in. The facts are there. I mean, every county around us, they have impact fees. We don't have that. St. John's has a half penny sales tax. We don't. Clay has a $500,000 increase. We don't. There's a reason why they have those revenue streams, because they realize that the state does not provide the funding that we need to maintain and operate our school district. And I think a lot of the questions that Board Member Joyce raised, I think is commendable, and we need to address them, and we will address them, and we have addressed them. And the one speaker said that somebody used a race card. I don't recall anyone saying anything about race when they were speaking for or against the half-penny sales tax. I was at the public hearing both at the committee level and the council level. And I didn't hear anyone say anything about we have these poor black kids and trying to use that as a reason to support the half-penny sales tax. We have air conditioners, we have roofs, we have a whole lot of reasons why we need the sales tax, and we can use those and not race. Thank you. Happy 4th of July to everyone.
Board Member Grimes.
Thank you. I want to congratulate our superintendent. This is a really difficult thing to do, to really step out front and do something that needs to be done. And I'm too have been really pleased that there are people who have come forward in a way that they are excited, because there are always going to be the detractors. And I have to say too that your cabinet is unbelievable. I know y'all do a lot of things that you don't get told about, or I know y'all are all the time busy, and I just appreciate everything y'all have done, and the fact that you have this great cabinet, I think is an inflection on you. So I just want to say too, happy July 4th. Y'all can go home now.
Almost. It's been a long 6 weeks for me and I think for many of us. I want to thank the board members who showed up to city council committee meetings, showed up to council committee meetings, city council meetings that lasted very late until the night. I get a little punchy around 9 o'clock because that's about the time I'm ready to go to bed, and that meeting lasted a little longer. But like so many people have said, sometimes sitting in this building, you hear more negative comments, but I leaned over to Dr. Green at the city council meeting and was like, I didn't realize we had this much support. I was like, so I think out of the 68 people who showed up, only 4 spoke negatively. I have been greatly impressed with articles that have been sent to the newspaper from community members and comments that I have received. When I check out a Publix and the young man bagging my groceries says, I'm not in school anymore, but my mom says she would support a half-penny sales tax, that gets me excited. And so, look, there's always 2 sides to every debate, and I know not everybody's for it, but the UNF poll sure encouraged me. Having said that, is there anyone who would like to motion that we adjourn?
We adjourn.
It was moved by Vice Chair Jones, but board member Willie did not sound too enthusiastic about that second. But all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
It's already.
He's already adjourned.